Even if you ignore the annual Halloween specials, it's still pretty obvious that The Simpsons have always loved horror movies, given the numerous references, parodies, and tributes threaded throughout canonical episodes, especially in the earlier seasons. So, it's strange when you look back at the show after more than 30 seasons and realize that there's certain icons of horror that you'd expect to have appeared in the show numerous times but haven't. Chucky from the Child's Play franchise is one such icon. Shockingly, as of October 2024, Chucky has only been seen a few times in the Simpsons universe. His first official appearance was in the opening episode of the 23rd season, The Falcon and the Dough Man, which originally aired in September 2011. In the installment, the power plant hires a new security guard, Wayne, who befriends Homer. In a flashback, Wayne recounts the special training that he's had, which at one point involves him fighting Chucky. Later, Chucky appears very briefly in the 14th episode of the 24th season, Gorgeous Grandpa, which first aired in March 2013. In the installment, the family discovered Grandpa's past identity as a pro wrestler. In one scene, Mr. Burns performs a song and dance during which he mentions Chucky, and a silhouette of the icon can be seen.
Chucky, Stellan, Megatron.
Later, in the 4th episode of the 24th season, Gone A Be Gone, which first aired in November 2012, Lisa gets addicted to online gambling. And in one scene, she watches a DVD starring actress and professional poker player Jennifer Tilly, who also stars in the Child's Play franchise as both herself and the character Tiffany.
Time is money.
Money is money.
Beyond the TV series, Chucky also briefly appears in the 169th issue of the Simpsons comics, which was first released in August 2010 in the story Bart Like Me. In the story, a new kid, Brad, arrives at Springfield Elementary and befriends Bart. However, he soon effectively steals Bart's identity by imitating him, leading Bart to question who he really is. Admittedly, the limited appearances that Chucky has made in the Simpsons universe have been underwhelming, except for the first major indirect reference to the character. Treehouse of Horror III is the 5th episode of the 4th season, which first aired in October 1992. The special features the segments King Homer, a tribute to the 1933 classic movie when a film crew traveled to a tropical island to capture a giant ape, and Dial Z for Zombies, an homage to the work of George A. Romero and his Night of the Living Dead series, which began with the 1968 film with the same name when Springfield is overrun by the undead.
Dad, you killed the zombie Flanders.
He was a zombie?
The special also includes the segment Clown Without Pity, when Homer buys Bart a mysterious Krusty doll as a last-minute birthday present. But the toy soon proves to be pure evil and is clearly inspired by the Child's Play villain.
Sorry, kid, you got me. I'm bad.
This segment is widely considered to be one of the best of the Halloween specials of all time. So, maybe the reason the Simpsons have shied away from Chucky references over the years since Clown Without Pity first aired is because, quite simply, you can't improve on perfection.
Oh, Dad, this is the best birthday I've ever had.
The Clown Without Pity segment opens as Bart celebrates his birthday with his family. After Homer admits that he forgot to buy Bart a present, he rushes off to a mysterious shop where he buys a talking Krusty doll.
Perhaps this will please the gentleman.
Bart loves the gift. However, although the doll is nice to him, it soon repeatedly tries to kill Homer, first while he's watching TV, then while he's having a bath. No one believes Homer about the doll trying to harm him, so he resorts to trapping it in a bag of his old socks before ostensibly disposing of the toy in a bottomless pit. Homer returns home relieved, but he soon discovers that the doll has followed him home and it attacks him. This time, Marge witnesses the assault and calls the helpline. A repairman eventually arrives and discovers that the doll has been accidentally switched from good to evil. After flipping the switch back to good, Homer and the doll bond immediately. A short time later, Homer has effectively made the doll his slave.
Did you walk the dog?
Yeah, he buried me a couple of times.
Yeah, dogs like to bury old junk.
The Clown Without Pity segment was written by Al Jean and Mike Reiss and directed by Carlos Beza. At the time, Jean and Reiss had been with The Simpsons since its beginning back in 1989 and had written a number of classic installments, such as the 12th episode of the 2nd season, The Way We Was, that details how Homer and Marge met, which first aired in January 1991. And Lisa's Pony, the 8th episode of the 3rd season that originally aired in November 1991, when Homer takes on a second job in an attempt to buy Lisa's love.
I'll work from midnight to 8, come home, sleep for 5 minutes, eat breakfast, sleep 6 more minutes, shower, then I have 10 minutes to bask in Lisa's love, then I'm off to the power plant fresh as a daisy.
In terms of the Halloween specials, Jean and Reiss had previously written for Treehouse of Horror II, the 7th episode of the 3rd season, which first aired in October 1991. The pair wrote the first segment, The Monkey's Paw, otherwise known as Lisa's Nightmare, which combined the classic 1902 short story by W.W. Jacob with the 15th episode of the Twilight Zone reboot series, The Small Talent for War, which first aired in January 1986, when the Simpsons family are able to have their wishes granted, but there's always a catch.
The guy that sold me this thing did say the wishes would bring grave misfortune. I thought he was just being colorful.
Beza joined The Simpsons in the third season back in 1991. Prior to Treehouse of Horror III, he'd only directed 3 episodes of the show, but they were all instant classics, including Lisa's Pony, Radio Bart, the 13th episode of the third season, where Bart pretends to be trapped in a well, which first aired in January 1992, and the 16th episode of the third season, Bart the Lover, that originally aired in February 1992, when Bart responds to a personal ad for his teacher as a prank.
This is a little ahead of schedule, but I need help with my love life.
Ultimately, despite the relative inexperience of Gene and Reese when it came to horror and Beza's limited experience in general, the end result of Clown Without Pity is a perfect blend of the various pieces of media that the segment set out to pay respect to.
That's good.
The Child's Play franchise began with a 1988 film of the same name, which revolves around Charles Lee Ray, better known simply as Chucky, a supernatural serial killer trapped in the body of a doll after he was forced to transfer his soul into the toy. Throughout the film, Chucky is determined to escape the confines of the doll, which he can only do via the first human he revealed his true identity to, a child named Andy. This leads to Chucky killing multiple people in his attempts to take control of Andy's body. Upon release of the film, Chucky became an instant classic horror icon for a number of reasons, ranging from the core concept of a doll serial killer to his distinct design to his voice actor Brad Dourif's pitch-perfect performance.
Talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch! You filthy slut!
The film and its numerous sequels also became known and loved for their dark humor. All the elements that made Chucky iconic can be seen in Clown Without Pity. However, ultimately, although the Simpsons segment is widely regarded as a tribute to the Child's Play franchise, it also drew inspiration from the 6th episode of the 5th season of The Twilight Zone, Living Doll, about a dysfunctional family whose problems are compounded when they buy a mysterious toy which first aired in November 1963. In the installment, a mother, Annabelle, buys her daughter Christy a wind-up doll called Talkie Tina. Annabelle has recently remarried to Eric, who is infertile and passive-aggressively takes his frustrations over this fact out on Christy, though he soon directs his anger towards Tina. When Eric is alone and winds up the doll, Tina starts threatening him.
My name is Talkie Tina, and I think I could even hate you.
Initially, Eric concludes that Annabelle is playing a trick on him for his treatment of Christy. Eric decides to get rid of the doll, ostensibly disposing of it multiple times, though it still haunts him in a number of ways, though Annabelle doesn't believe him. When his wife threatens to leave, Eric begins to question his sanity and offers to return Tina to Christy if Annabelle will stay, which she does. Later that night, Eric is awoken by muffled noises and goes to investigate. He sees that Christy is in bed, but Tina is missing. As Eric heads downstairs, he trips over Tina and falls to his death. Annabelle finds Eric's body, beside which slides Tina.
My name is Talkie Tina, and you'd better be nice to me.
The Clown Without Pity segment also drew inspiration from the 1975 made-for-TV horror anthology film Trilogy of Terror. The movie contains 3 segments based on short stories by Richard Matheson. The third, Amelia, revolves around a woman who is trapped and terrorized by a doll in her apartment. The segment opens with the titular character returning home with a wooden doll crafted in the form of a misshapen Aboriginal warrior. Amelia calls her mother to cancel their plans to meet up, which her mother doesn't take well. Amelia tries to change the subject to the doll, telling her mother all about it.
There's a golden chain wrapped around it to keep the spirit from making the doll come to life.
As Amelia hangs up and leaves the room, unbeknownst to her, the doll's golden chain suddenly falls off, which Amelia only discovers later on. Initially, Amelia is unfazed. However, she soon finds herself in a battle for her life as the doll repeatedly attacks her. Amelia tries to trap and kill the doll in multiple ways, but the doll won't die. She eventually manages to hurl it into the oven where it catches fire, howling as it burns. Amelia waits until the screaming stops before opening the oven, at which point she's overcome by a mysterious force that causes her to collapse. Later, Amelia calls her mother and invites her over. Amelia is eerily calm. She doesn't seem herself, and it's soon revealed that she's now possessed by the doll. Ultimately, while the plot of Clown Without Pity segment is inspired by Living Doll and Amelia, the Krusty Doll's personality and the way he emotionally manipulates those around him is very much based on Chucky.
I'm your friend to the end.
I'm Krusty the Clown, and I love you very much.
Beyond the Child's Play franchise, The Twilight Zone, and the Trilogy of Terror, the Clown Without Pity segment, typical of a Golden Era episode, is packed full of pop culture references, in-jokes, and even some serendipitous character development. The title of the segment is a play on that of the 1961 film Town Without Pity, though the Simpsons segment has nothing to do with the actual plot of the film, which details a trial of 4 American soldiers accused of assaulting a teenage girl. The aesthetic of the mysterious shop where Homer buys the toy and the storekeeper himself are a reference to the 1984 horror comedy Gremlins, when small destructive creatures wreak havoc on a small town on Christmas Eve.
With Mogwai comes much responsibility.
Also during the scene in the shop, a monkey paw can be seen on the shopkeeper's counter in reference to Gene and Reese's previous Treehouse segment.
Hey!
Additionally, the back and forth between Homer and the shopkeeper about Frogurt is a reference to the 1974 children's book What Good Luck, What Bad Luck, where each part has the character in situations that are in direct contrast to the previous scenario.
It comes with a free Frogurt.
That's good.
The Frogurt is also cursed.
That's bad.
What good luck, a friend lent him an airplane. What bad luck, the motor exploded.
In the scene where Homer takes a bath, he sings a jingle.
My baloney has a second name, it's H-O-M-E-R.
The piece is a parody of the 1973 commercial for Oscar Mayer.
My baloney has a second name, it's M-A-Y-E-R.
The way the Krusty doll follows Homer back home by strapping himself to the underside of Homer's car is a reference to the 1991 film Cape Fear, which is a remake of the 1962 movie of the same name, which is itself based on the 1957 novel The Executioners by John D. MacDonald, when a lawyer is stalked by a former client. In the scene when Marge calls the doll manufacturer for help, she's put on hold, during which she has to listen to the unfortunately themed 1965 song by Gary Lewis and the Playboys, Everybody Loves a Clown. Although the joke is strong enough to stand alone, it's actually part of a running joke in the series, where a character calls a specific helpline only to be put on hold, during which a song with an ironic subject matter plays. The previous incarnations of the joke include a scene from Stark Raving Dad, the first episode of the 3rd season that originally aired in September 1991, when Homer is sent to a mental institution. In one scene, Marge calls the New Bedlam Wrongly Committed hotline in an attempt to get him out, during which she's put on hold and hears Willie Nelson's 1961 song Crazy, performed by Patsy Cline.
Please stay on the line.
Later, in Sad Days of Thunder, the 9th episode of the 3rd season, which first aired in November 1991, Homer realizes that he knows little about Bart and strives to be a better father. And, in one scene, Homer calls the National Fatherhood Institute, who put him on hold and play the 1974 song Cats in the Cradle by Harry Chapin about a neglectful father. In the 15th episode of the 3rd season, Homer Alone, which first aired in February 1992, Marge leaves Homer in charge of the house while she goes on a much-needed vacation alone. At one point, Homer loses Maggie and calls the Department of Missing Babies, who put him on hold and make him listen to the 1977 song Baby Come Back by Player. In a strange twist of fate, despite the Halloween specials being non-canon, the Clown Without Pity segment would later inform the character development of Patty, who, at the time, was a relatively one-dimensional secondary character in the show. In the 10th episode of the 16th season, There's Something About Marrying, which first aired in February 2005, Patty reveals that she's gay, something that had been hinted at in Clown Without Pity with what was initially a throwaway joke, which ended up being one of the show's best ever one-liners.
There goes the last lingering thread of my heterosexuality.
It certainly is strange that such a popular horror icon as Chucky has made so few appearances in the Simpsons universe. Even weirder is the fact that the few direct references to him have been pretty underwhelming. But having said that, when you have a segment like Clown Without Pity, of course it's going to be difficult to ever top it, because the segment is a perfect blend of the various pieces of media that the piece set out to pay respect to, lifting the premise of the story from the Twilight Zone and Trilogy of Terror and giving the doll the personality of Chucky.
Guess who, fat boy?
And as a result, impressively, the Clown Without Pity segment manages to simultaneously pay tribute to one of the most influential TV shows ever produced and one of the most celebrated movie franchises of all time, with one of the greatest Treehouse segments ever made, illustrating just how and why the Simpsons Halloween specials became a staple of the show and just as iconic as the holiday itself.